Hello guys, welcome to my new channel. The Less is More. So on this channel, I would make you understand an editorial, reading line by line, and I would discuss only a single editorial in a single video. As the name of channel suggests, the less is more. Okay, so let's move ahead. That the name of the editorial is Open Justice. So this is on the Supreme Court verdicts recently. Supreme Court has given a verdict on the Malayalam news channel Media One. So this topic is uh, in news from many days. So what happened is that this media channel has been denied a security clearance by the government home ministry, and this media channel has filed a petition in the Supreme Court. So it is all about that. Let's see in the editorial itself. So the Supreme Court verdict, setting aside the denial of broadcasting permission to Malayalam channel Media One, is one that protects the media against arbitrary action. And what other this verdict has done? Bars the use of undisclosed national security consideration as a pretext to shut down an outlet. So this verdict has done two things. It has set aside the denial of broadcasting permission to Malayalam channel Media One. And what is it done? Protects the media against arbitrary action and bars the use of undisclosed national security consideration, which many times has been used by the government to shut down an outlet. That means any media channel. So the court, on moving ahead, the court has struck a blow for media freedom. Struck a blow means having a successful attack by ruling that the government could not term what Supreme Court has ruled. Government could not term critical coverage or airing of a critical opinion as anti-establishment and so initiate action. So court has said that government could not term critical coverage or critical opinion as anti-establishment. So if on the some channel is showing critical opinions of the government, so it cannot be termed blindly as an anti-establishment and cannot initiate action of what a denial of broadcasting permission. Right? Let's move ahead. It said the use of such a terminology represents an expectation that the press must support the establishment. So if government use such a terminology as anti-establishment, what does it represent? An expectation that the press must support establishment. And the denial of security clearance to media channel on the basis of views it was entitled to hold produces a chilling effect on free speech and particularly on press freedom. So what government has done, the denial of security clearance to this media channel. So uh, and on the basis of views it was entitled to hold, right? So this news channel has uh, news channel is holding many viewers. So looking at that, on that basis, government cannot deny a security clearance. And if it has denied, it produces what? A chilling effect on free speech and particularly on press freedom. So it impacts badly, right? The bench also cited substantive grounds to allow media one's petition. Bench has cited substantive ground and allows its petition that security clearance cannot be denied based on its alleged anti-establishment stance or a bald claim that its shareholders have a links with Jamaate. Islami. So, what bench has cited is that the security clearance cannot be denied based on what its alleged anti-establishment stance. And second, bar the claim that its shareholders have links with the Jamaat-e-Islami. So government has, government has denied security clearance on the alleged claim that its shareholders have links with Jamaat-e-Islami and has not given any proof of that. The court has rightly found a fault with the approach of the Kerala High Court. What is the approach? It has accepted material in a sealed cover on why the Home Ministry denied security clearance to the channel. So, Kerala High Court had accepted material in a sealed cover, uh, and in that sealed cover, there is the reason that why Home Ministry has denied security clearance to the channel. So, the bench expressed surprise that the High Court did not explain how it felt that denial of security clearance was justified, even after noting that the gravity of the issue was not discernible from the files. So the bench is surprised about what? That the High Court did not explain. High Court has not explained that how it felt the denial of security clearance was justified. So there was no reason attached for, for this justification. And even after what? Noting that the gravity of the issue is not visible from the file because there was no any kind of proof attached or a substantive ground from the government side, right? So this up to this was the bench ruling, right? Now let's see a significant aspect of the judgment is that it seeks to end the casual resort to sealed cover procedure, right? And has suggested alternative approach to state claims of immunity from publication in public interest. So what is the significance of this judgment? The first is seeks to end the casual resort to sealed cover procedure, right? And what it has done, suggest an alternative approach to state claims of immunity from publication in public interest. What is that? Let's see. Right. Drawing upon both Indian and foreign jurisprudence, the bench has said what it is now an established principle of natural justice that relevant material must be disclosed to the affected party, ensuring that the right to appeal can be effectively exercised. So there is an established principle in Indian, even in foreign jurisprudence, in foreign law, what that it is an established principle of natural justice that the relevant material must be disclosed to a affected party. And what happened if they disclose completely? The party would have a right to appeal, which can be effectively exercised. It acknowledged that confidentiality and national security could be legitimate aims for the purpose of limiting procedural guarantees. So it can be used confidential and national security clause if it would have legitimate aims for the purpose of limiting procedural guarantees. So there should be a legitimate aims for doing this. However, a blanket immunity from disclosure of all reports could not be granted, and the validity of the involvement of such consideration must be assessed by the use of relevant test. So, a blanket immunity from disclosure of all reports could not be granted. Okay, and if any kind of involvement of such consideration is taken, right, it must be assessed by the use of relevant tests. So court should use some relevant tests to assess that is there any legitimate aims for using of this national security or confidentiality clause. It could be ascertained if there is a proof that non-disclosure in is in the interest of national security, whether a reasonable person would come to the same inference from it. So a proof can be found out that non-disclosure is in the interest of national security and whether a reasonable person, so any person would come to the same inference from that reason that yes, the national security is a concern. So in a bid to balance between what? The public interest in non-disclosure with the one in ensuring a fair hearing. In a bid to balance between that, the court has mooted what alternatives such as redacting sensitive portions and providing the gist of the material given to the affected party. So court has provided two alternatives. What one? Redacting sensitive portion, that means edit before publication sensitive portion and provide what? A gist of the material given to the affected party. So you can disclose by editing the sensitive portion and provide a gist of the material that is original which is given to the affected party. The court could also appoint an amicus curiae who would be given access to the material whenever the state claims immunity from disclosure. So court has suggested what it can even appoint amicus curiae, which means a person who is impartial and advisor, act as advisor, would be given access to the material whenever state claims that there should be immunity from disclosure. Right. So this was all editorial. We have seen the verdict, and verdict is that the government could not term critical coverage or airing of critical opinion as anti-establishment and cannot initiate action of what? Denial of security clearance, right? Because there is no such a solid proof for having a link with Jamaat-e Islami of this shareholder of this Media One news channel. And the court has also found fault in what? This procedure of taking accepting material in a sealed cover, right? Which is harming what? The public interest. So this judgment has tried to end this casual resort to seal cover and suggest an alternative approach, right? So this was the main gist of this editorial, right? So thank you for listening me. This is for all today. Signing off for the day. Bye bye.